Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Todd Nash, President of the Oregon Cattlemen's Association. I'm here today with Commissioner Kelly Simmelink from Jefferson County. And Kelly, you want to further introduce yourself a little bit about where you're at, where you're from, and what you do there?
Well, good morning, Oregon Cattlemen. I am sitting in downtown, what would normally be sunny Central Oregon, but we are heavily invoked with fire smoke this morning, and we've had 105, 103, 105 degree temperatures lately. So it's well, it's my slice of heaven. It's a little hot for us. It's smoky. So, but yeah, I'm Jefferson County Commissioner Kelly Simmelink. Come from a long line of cattlemen. My grandparents and my dad came out here in the 60s and built the Madras auction yard. Probably many of your viewers are familiar with my father, Chuck, and I've been a commissioner since 2019. That's kind of my story. I've got 3 kids that we've raised here in Madras, and one just graduated this past year. My folks are still on the family farm, family ranch, I guess. We don't farm much, but anyways, just great to be here with you, Todd.
Yeah, well, thanks, Kelly. Your parents received an honor this year too. You want to give a little shout out what happened there?
Oh, I'm extremely proud. You know, I grew up in the fair, showing animals all over the United States. As a matter of fact, horses. My folks are the lifetime leading halter horse breeders in the Paint Horse Association. This past year, the Fair Board graced my parents to be the Grand Marshals of the Jefferson County Fair. I think it's our 90th. Of course, there's been some misses. COVID maybe missed one, and probably some other time that I'm not aware of. But I believe it's about our 90th Jefferson County Fair. But yeah, the folks were the Grand Marshals. It just tickled them like you wouldn't believe. And my dad was a former Fair Board member. My mom was both a princess and a queen. I won't date it because she'd probably shoot me, but it was pre-60s. How's that?
Okay. Well, that was fun. I got to go down there for just a little bit and meet them. And it turns out that our parents, my dad was involved in the paint horse business too, and they knew each other. And we probably even knew each other way back when, but we've gotten both maybe a little larger than we were and don't recognize each other from way back. But anyway, enough of that. Kelly, what I wanted to talk to you today about was one of the first conversations I had with you when I met you as a commissioner was we started talking about county fairs and county fair funding. And we've been working on that since. I'm going to let you roll into that and talk about the dynamics there with the 1% of video lottery and explain to our viewers a little bit.
Sure. No, I'd love to. And I don't have dates, Todd. I know you probably have that. I have dollar figures that kind of sticks in my brain. But, you know, at one point in time, folks felt it was a good idea to use lottery funds, 1% of the lottery funds to further enhance county fairgrounds, fairs, for their economic reasons, obviously, but you know what us in rural Oregon values, our culture, our heritage. It's a celebration, it's a gathering, and it can be so much more. But at some point, the legislature decided that, well, we ought to put a cap on that, and they put a $1.5 million cap on that for all 36 counties, including Marion County, which also holds the state fairgrounds, as we all know. And so what we've been trying to do as county commissioners is to get a bill across the finish line that would remove that cap. I don't know of any fairgrounds. Well, I can think of one up north of me here that is in pretty good shape. But if you look, I've traveled all around this state. I've seen fairgrounds. They're in dismay, and we can't do it on our 36th of 1.9 million or whatever it is, which is 53,000 for our viewers. In my county, it's 53,000. I think it's equal all the way around. But had we gotten this across the finish line this year, I think we would have been looking at around a $252,000 investment by the state lottery funds into what needs to happen on the ground. I think there was a lot of support this past year, and I think you would attest to this. I don't know how many times we testified on in behalf of our fairs. And, when we take into consideration what our fairgrounds actually provide, obviously the economic values that could be generated from it for the counties. But it serves as so much more. Our emergency services, this is the place where people are supposed to go in case of an emergency. We talk about that Cascadia all the time. This is going to be the hub. And, I'll be brutally honest. I think there's a lot of folks out there, and I don't want to get into urban and rural politics conversations, but I think there's a lot of folks that didn't grow up around it, don't understand what they do. But I heard in the conversations when we were testifying on 2510, for instance, I heard folks that are from more urban areas that, in fact, some of the bills were even brought by legislators that were from rural areas, that they enjoy the fair and they see what the FFA and the 4-H does for the kids, and they see what it does for the community, and they were very supportive of it. I think where we've got to head with this, Todd, and I mean, we're having this conversation today, is that I think too much of the focus is on that 1 week that our fair serves, that it services our fair, if you will. And I think we've got to put a bigger priority on what happens on our grounds the other 52 weeks or 51 weeks. And I think if we do that, we might be more successful. But that's kind of my take on it. Todd, or President Nash, sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Todd is fine. You're absolutely right. Here in my county, I know the hospitals thought that it was so important that we be able to have a backup with our largest facility here, that they invested in a generator for us so that they could have that constant service if we had some sort of an emergency where they needed that floor space, needed extra bed space, and needed continuous electricity, that they did that. We also, you talked about smoke, we put a new heating and cooling system in there that filtrates smoke, so that if people are having issues with breathing during a heavy smoke event, it's a place of refuge for them. Even here where winter is for a long time, they have walking classes where people can come in and walk around without having to slip and fall, and that's been pretty popular. But it is a community center for way more than just fairs. And during COVID, we had our testing here, we had our vaccines, mass vaccinations, if you will. They run people through in a fairly expedited manner, and yeah, the list just goes on and on. But the development of young people, I think 95% of this county here participates in some form of the fair through 4-H, FFA, a number of different programs. It's ironic that we have a 95% graduation rate too here. Yeah. Those kids that participate in those things, they don't get in trouble. They're the ones that are doing and learning community service at a young age. There just isn't enough good that can be said about this. And when you look at video lottery funds, a portion of that is to go to education, and what better bang for your buck could you get than supporting the fairs here? And especially when you look at the amount of money that gets thrown at education, the small pittance that we're asking for at a video lottery is pretty minimal.
Well, and not only that, Todd, and that is a huge part of it for me, of course, having children in it. I was involved in it all the way through. But $53,000 a year to run a facility. We've hosted fire camps. We just hosted a huge, one of our largest employers in the county had their company picnic here, probably had 800 people at it. Fantastic event that you can't hold anywhere else. and the number of livestock shows and things like that, where we're actually bringing in folks from other areas to spend their money in Jefferson County. And we had, I want to tote on ourselves a little bit. We had a distinct need for a new barn. We were outgrowing our steer barn, and other facilities that were basically moved here from the current high school location back in the 60s. And they basically picked up all the buildings and they brought them to what is now the county fairgrounds. And so with our community, we had three kind of headliners, if you will, that sponsored $200,000 amongst themselves. And then with this facility we built, $365,000 show barn, and it is fantastic, open air on the sides, and it handles everything that we need as far as a show arena, if you will. Two arenas, we can run simultaneously goats and the cattle on the other side, or whatever. But that was all done on community support. We sold the legs to the sides of the building itself with, it's got the advertising on it for local companies. And we're in a unique position here in Jefferson County that we could kind of fund those folks so that they didn't have that $20,000 expense right out of the pocket, which would be kind of a hard no for even a small company like I own. And you'd be able to extend that out over 10 years. So $2,000 a year isn't a great big hit. But we're vested in our community. We're vested in building the facilities that we desperately need. And if we had our stabilized funding, I would give my Fair Board carte blanche. Go do what you need to do, because we will have the money and it's guaranteed it's going to come in. And yes, we can, if we needed to go out and borrow money to build the proper facilities to not only handle the livestock showing and other economic type of activity, but also to host these fire camps better. Our power's terrible. And here I'm sitting with actually, and you can verify this, with a pretty doggone nice fairgrounds, to be honest with you. It's a little dated in areas. And there's folks like in Union County that, they don't even running water or bathrooms, toiletries. To me, that's just, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I think it's something that this legislature's really got to take a look at it and go, boots on the ground, by God, you do need the money.
Yeah. Well, we're going to boot up and we're going to get it, buddy. We're going to get this. Senator Finley told us we need a little more support. So this is an effort to do that. And I don't want to belabor this forever. I have another topic to bring up here. And so we have a PAC event that takes place in Powell Butte. I know you've been to it a couple of times, and we're going to put you in a greater role this time. And so you want to talk about a little bit what takes place there?
Well, I think it's silly of you to make me the top auctioneer, if you will. No, that belongs to Dennis Thurman. But no, Ron and Ann do a Central Oregon Ranch Supply puts on their roundup and trade show. And if you've never been to it, I highly encourage you to go to it. This will be my fourth that I've attended. Well, God help it that we make it to that far, but the September 22nd and 23rd, mark it down on your calendars. But yeah, it is a tremendous event. All the money raised there goes to the PAC, obviously, to help further what cattlemen's do and in the legislature over there. And I'll tell you, I've seen that firsthand. The power that Oregon Cattlemen's has is incredible. If I want anything done, I obviously want to get their support, Farm Bureau, you name it. And to me, what we can do at this event is to further our message and what we're trying to do in the state and try to make things less crazy, if you will. But so he sprung this on me not too long ago about doing the pie auction. I guess we might have had a conversation about it last year at the event, but yeah, looking forward to that. It's a great turnout. We had last year, I think we had probably 10 county commissioners there or in that neighborhood, several legislators, including Hansel from up there in your area and District 29. And so look forward to it. I've got it circled on my calendar, Todd.
Awesome. So I know the cattle women, they're still looking for some desserts out there, but about 25 desserts was their target, and I think they're getting close to that. And nobody cooks a better pie than somebody from the cattle women's, and so we we're looking forward to that.
Didn't you mention that your mom is a pretty doggone purveyor of pies?
yeah, she is, and I might be able to talk my mom into making it. My mom will be 90 years old, and if I can talk her into making a pie, she is a world-class pie maker. I can attest to that.
I tell you what, we've done this dessert auction. We call it dessert auction, not limited to just pies, but I've done many community events, Culver High School Booster Club. Very first time my dad sold it. I'm just kind of the monkey on the mic, if you will. And we rolled out the very first dessert, and that thing went for 1,500 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And my dad I about rolled over his eyes, about rolled out of his head. He's like, "What the heck?" And it continued that way throughout the auction. It was odd, but we've done that at our FFA alumni numerous times now, and it's always a great generator. People like to eat dessert after their great steak, and don't order the chicken, whatever you do.
Yeah, I think the chicken option will be limited at this event, but stranger things have happened.
That's always been my fun, to go through the line. I thought there was going to be chicken, They know full well. And Redmond FFA, it's generally Central Oregon FFA serves at that deal, and we want to thank them. I guarantee you want to thank them, because those kids do a whale of a job.
They do, yeah. That's a fun affiliation that we have with FFA. No brighter, smarter, more inspiring organization, in my opinion. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Kelly, I look forward to seeing you down there and getting together on the 21st of September. And the most ethical, honest auctioneer that has ever walked the face of the earth will be selling pies, and we look forward to that.
I just want to make sure everybody knows I'm not a professional. That's the only thing. I try to make it professional. I imitate my father and other greats like Dennis Thurman and some of those folks, but I'm not a professional. You might be able to slide. You might be able to slide one by on me.
All right, Kelly. Thank you very much for getting on here today, and we will be visiting again real soon. We're going to get that 1% of video lottery, get the cap taken off of that. And if somebody wants to support that, they can get a hold of their own legislator, their own senator, and say, hey, let's give the best portion of the 1% of video lottery back to fairs in whole, and let's get that across the line.
And we've made it, as we've made it a huge priority at Eastern Oregon Association of Counties. And I can't think of anybody on the east side, at least, and even folks on the west side, that don't think it's a priority. I really do. But thank you for having me today, Todd. I appreciate all that you do as a county commissioner, and obviously as the president of the great organization, Oregon Cattlemen's. So thanks for having me today. Appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. And we'll visit again soon. Have a good day.
Take care. You too.